Welcome.
Great to see you.
You too. Tell us, who are you?
My name is Douglas. I'm the COO at Warg, and I used to be the CEO here at SSE Business Lab.
And what is your background?
My background is I used to study at Stockholm School of Economics, and after that I started spending some time during school actually here at Business Lab, supporting Eric Vetter, another former CEO. Through Business Lab then I got in contact with the founder and CEO of Budbee, Fredrik. He recruited me to become the first COO at Budbee. And I worked there for a couple of years, super fun, a lot of work, a lot of adventures, and then got the fantastic opportunity to work here as CEO at SSE Business Lab. And then you and I started working together for a short time before I co-founded Warg.
And could you tell us about your first interactions with the SSE Business Lab?
My first interaction with SSE Business Lab was probably one of the first days in school, and we were walking around doing like a tour in the school, and then stopped in the Business Lab to hear one of the entrepreneurs pitch the company and share just how it was to run a company at SSE Business Lab, and that was quite fascinating and sounded like a lot of fun.
Did you know that entrepreneurship was something that you wanted to get into already back then, or?
Definitely not. So I thought starting at SSE pretty quickly I got into the mindset of, either I'll become a consultant or a banker, and I felt like consulting was for me. So that was my main hypothesis for the first 2 years. But then I got into better thoughts when starting to work here at the Business Lab as an operations manager at the Business Lab. I really understood the true beauty of entrepreneurship.
Could you tell us a bit about what happened during your time as a CEO?
I think I was very fortunate to be the first full-time CEO at SSE Business Lab, and that was a very mature and bold decision by Lars Strannegård, the president, that had the courage to really bet on SSE Business Lab and invest in it and make sure that SSE Business Lab gets the resources that it needs to support all the great entrepreneurs. So full-time employees, a bigger co-working space for all the entrepreneurs, and really investing in the advisory board and all the partnerships surrounding the Business Lab. Big reason is of course the school and all the donors to the school as well that's backing SSE Business Lab.
I remember very fondly how when I came in, I asked you a question about whether or not you were starting something of your own, because the talks had started in the ecosystem that you and someone else were on the verge of starting some e-scooter company, which was at the time didn't exist really in Europe. And I remember I asked you just before I signed the contract to start working here, I asked you, are you starting something? Will you start a company instead of work here? Do you remember what you said to me?
Not really.
You said, well, yes, I'm probably gonna leave soon. And I remember saying to you that I came here because I was really, really surprised, and I saw a lot of what you had built for the last year.
I remember the conversation. We were sitting outside here, right, on the yard of A House. Yeah. And yes, I remember that I was honest with you, but also honest about how I thought you would be a great fit for Business Lab, and I thought that you were going to do a great job, which you have.
Thank you. You have been a part of Budbee, a previous startup here at the Business Lab, but also being the CEO at the Business Lab.
Especially if SSE Business Lab continues to do what you are doing today.
And you've been running Warg for 3 years now. Do you already see people leaving Warg to start their own companies?
Actually, yes. We've had, we unfortunately had to leave, or decided to leave, Spain pretty early. And then a few of the employees in Spain got together and co-founded a Vespa company, so electric Vespas. They're selling that in Spain now, and that was super fun to see. And I hope that we will have more people who are bold enough to take that step once they leave Voi at some point.
Do you think that you would ever come back to the Business Lab?
I certainly hope so, yeah.
As what?
I want to work with Voi as long as Voi will have me, but at some point in the future I do hope that there will be another Voi for me, and then of course Business Lab is the place to be.
It's funny because you've actually been a part of two of our most successful startup stories here at the Business Lab. So when you first joined as the CEO of the Business Lab, how was that?
I remember the first day being quite stressful. So the first day as a CEO at SSE Business Lab, I was going to have a meeting with the president of the school and the founder and CEO of Klarna, Sebastian, who was the chairman of SSE Business Lab as well. So like a high stakes meeting on the first day. And you know, new job, new day, so I had a new pair of sneakers. This was a sneaker from like a fashion brand, so not the kind of sneakers you run in, but rather sneakers you stand and you walk in. And we had a meeting invite with a video call link, so I assumed that there was going to be a video call for the meeting, but I assumed wrong. So when the time was due, I got a text message from Sebastian saying, "Where are you?" And you know, my heart rised immediately, and I was like, I thought it was a video meeting. And then I immediately started running from SSE to Klarna, which is not super far, but it's maybe 700 meters or something like that. And they were quite impressed with me arriving shortly, and it all went well, except for the next day when my feet were completely destroyed from running this track with those fashion sneakers. But that was like my mental reason for myself to finally buy that e-scooter that I've been waiting to buy for myself. And then I started using that on a daily basis, taking it on Business Lab between meetings out downtown, and later that also was a natural segue over to Voi. So there's really a clear path between my first stressful day with the president and Sebastian and the foundation of Voi.
When you were here as the CEO, you also coached a lot of the startups sitting here. What was your best advice to them back then?
I think an advice that I would give today that I've learned throughout the journey with Voi is to really think through, like, is it possible to increase ambition? Is it possible to do it slightly bigger, do it slightly faster? At least to think it through, because that, I think, highlights what some fundamental barriers for you are right now. And you should probably spend most of your time on those, right? So just having that mindset and conversation, I think it's hard to do it alone actually, but having people around you that will challenge you on those parts, I think it's super helpful. And I would recommend that to all entrepreneurs today.